Hello and welcome back to the Playbase. Today I have a brilliant, unique, and totally different guest than I've ever had. Somebody who, when I learned about what she did, it actually blew my mind. And I was like, that is not what I thought people with your credentials do. So I'm very excited to welcome Dr. Ali Durrieu. Thank you so much for joining us. You are, by trade, a chiropractor.
I am, yes.
And I thought I knew what that meant. But then when we met, we had this like commonality where we're like, when we meet people, we have to explain ourselves that, yes, people in ABA do ABA this way, but I actually do it this way. And yes, chiropractors do this, but I actually do it this way. So I remember sitting down. Thankfully, our dear friend Lauren Henry introduced us and sitting down and being like, wow, I want to learn more. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yes. So, like you said, thank you so much for those beautiful words. My name is Dr. Ali Durrieu. I am the owner of Nature Nurture Chiropractic. So I am a chiropractor, but I specialize in neurodiverse needs and challenges. So I'm under the network of what we call PX docs. So it's called the Pediatric Experience. So it is a different kind of network based off of being able to care for these kids that we call have come with this beautiful, perfect storm. So all of the things that have gone on from preconception all the way to today is what I talk about in my practice and what I dive into when I care for them. So we are really looking at you based off of a neurological nervous system based care.
Ooh, neurological nervous system based care. And that's when I was like, sorry, what? And although your spinal cord, I understand, like nervous system, I get that. Yes. But no chiropractor that I've met has ever used language like that to help me understand. So sorry, I needed to like accent that, and please keep going.
Yes. So what I mean by that is really that I'm looking at how your nervous system is focusing and adapting to the world around you. So there's two different things. There's internal stress and external stress. Mm-hmm. I help you with your internal stress and the regulation of that, meaning nervous system based. With external stress, that's where we come in with our financial instability, relationships, whatever it may be from the outside. Those are all inevitable. Right. So internal stress is really what I work on with making sure that we can now adapt better to the external stressors.
Right.
So the biggest thing is, how in the world does chiropractic tie into that?
Mm-hmm.
That's the big question.
Yes.
So our spine protects our central nervous system, meaning it protects our spinal cord that goes and attaches all the way to the brain.
Right.
When our bones of our spine misalign in any way, it sends the wrong message to the brain. So it sends incorrect proprioceptive input to the brain, which then the brain sends the wrong output to the body. So think about it. If my bones around my low back are out of alignment, that gets sent to the brain, and out comes constipation. Out comes diarrhea, right? So we're working with our digestion in this case, and we just nowadays call it IBS, or nowadays we just call it food sensitivities, when really it could be something deeper than that.
Wow. So when I was thinking about it, I didn't even think about digestion. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about it, and I understand the spinal cord is the connection between the brain mm-hmm. and the rest of our body. Mm-hmm. And messages go from our brain to the different areas and connect. Like if I want my right hand to wave, my brain communicates and the communication goes and then it does it.
Of course.
Right? And I remember learning that. I never made the connection between that and like digestion.
Yeah. So it connects, our nervous system connects to every system of our body. Right. Cardiovascular, respiratory, digestion, etc. So it really does have a connection to each piece. And every level of your spine connects to a different part of it. But we also have to consider the fact that it works as one unit. So a lot of times with, for example, the first bone of your neck sits right in front of your vagus nerve. Well, your vagus nerve controls 80% of your parasympathetic nervous system, which comes with rest and digest. So not only am I looking at your low back for digestion, I'm looking at the top of your neck as well, because that's where our vagus nerve comes out. So we have to piece things together and find different patterns based off of you and your anatomy.
Really cool. So I remember when I first heard you speak, I was like, but how do you determine these things? And you're like, I have these assessment tools. And I was like, but I can't compute what that means.
Yeah.
So I need to come in. I need you to do an assessment on me for me to understand. And I said, if I'm going to, speak to you, if I'm going to recommend you, I want to understand what it is that you do and how you determine what it is that you're going to do. Because historically, I've gone to a chiropractor. He's done like an x-ray of my back or whatever, and then laid me on a table and adjusted me, right? Either they've done different things, like the assessments I've had done actually are like, if I stand 1 foot on 1 foot on one scale and 1 foot on the other scale, how evenly do I distribute my weight? Like, am I leaning on one side? So they'll see like the weight distribution.
Of course.
I think it's like also like posture, different exercises, like how I bend over, can I reach this far, that far? Like when I turn my head, which I know you had me do as well, like turn your head this way, turn your head that way. What is your range of motion? Like those kinds of things. But I've never had done what you did. So when I came in this week, I think
just this week.
Yeah, just this week I came in. You had me go through a few different tests. Can you walk us through what those tests are? And then I know that we went through them, but I'd love to kind of talk through what these tests demonstrated about me so that people can understand what that might share, like what information and insight it might share about them.
And that's the best way to do it, is to share your experience too. So I'll talk about the science nerdy part and you'll talk about your experience and what yours shown.
Okay.
We'll tag team on this. So we do a set of 3 scans. It's 3 different ways of looking at your nervous system. So the first one is heart rate variability, HRV, which tells us how you're managing stress. So it tells us your reserve, and it tells us how balanced you are as well. So it tells us, are you favoring that sympathetic fight or flight side, or are you favoring that parasympathetic dominant side?
Right.
Ideally, everyone thinks that we need to be favoring that parasympathetic side. I want to be more in the rest and digest. But honestly, we don't want to favor either of those.
Right.
We want to be balanced in the middle, because when a tiger starts to chase me, I need to turn the switch on and I need to run.
Yes.
So we need that. There's a reason we have our sympathetic nervous system, right? It's for these situations like this. But ideally, we want to be balanced. That way I know that we can turn the switches on when necessary. So that's the first one.
Do you see a lot of people more in their parasympathetic?
Yes. And who are the people that I see the most there are the moms that have been stressing their whole lives because they've put their kids in front of them for everything. So the moms that bring their kids in for their kids, that start with me first because they have a diagnosis of autism and they're level 2, for example, and they've done everything to make sure that they can help and care for their child. They are exhausted.
Wow.
They are so exhausted that they're not responding anymore, right? That stimulus, if a bear came out or a tiger, like I said before, came to start chasing them, they would not respond because they're running on fumes now. They're really tired.
Yeah, I can identify some people I know who probably run that way. That's so interesting. And I was wondering if there is a correlation between, and I don't know if you know, hyposensitivity and hypersensitivity to stimuli, and whether you also run more one way versus the other when you are, I'm assuming if you're hyposensitive, which means that you are less responsive to, or that it's less, your nervous system is less responsive to stimuli. You would run in the parasympathetic, whereas if you were hypersensitive, it means you're already on alert and every single stimulus. That's so interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So an ideal result of that would be somewhere where you're in the middle.
Exactly.
And if you're not in the middle range, is there a specific technique that you use, or is there a specific protocol for somebody who is more in their parasympathetic or more in their sympathetic?
Great question. Typically, when I see someone that favors their parasympathetic side, I know actually needs more work, because we have to wake the nervous system up before we can get to that regulation state.
Right.
So if you're in sympathetic, it's actually faster to get you to the midline. Parasympathetic dominance is really hard to get back to the midline.
Because midline would be more
Regulation.
Whereas it's easier to regulate than to alert a system that's exhausted.
Exactly. Because you have to backtrack. You have to heal the body first. So with healing the body, you have to almost reverse that pattern. We were so stuck in sympathetic dominant for so long, meaning I was adrenaline rush after adrenaline rush, that now my body moved to the other side because it's exhausted. So now the way our body heals is by backtracking that. We have to wake back up before we can come back in the middle.
So I'm thinking about listeners.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about somebody who hasn't done this assessment. Maybe they feel like they are always on alert. What do you recommend to somebody who is that way, so that they don't end up in their parasympathetic and like kind of stuck there and needing intervention to alert their nervous system in a safe way?
Yeah. So the other part of this test that I look at is the fact that it's testing for chemical, physical, and emotional stress.
Oh, interesting.
So I want you to dive in when we're thinking about this, for the listeners that you're thinking, what is stressful in the chemical aspect, AKA what are you eating, right? In the physical aspect, are you doing a more physical job? Do you have any physical traumas? Did you have a big fall, etc.? And then emotionally, how are the relationships in your life? Your husband, your wife, your kids, your parents, etc. And start building those so that you can decrease the biggest aspect or the biggest factors of your stress coming from those three categories.
It's interesting because, and I shared this with you, that I worked with my friend Nicole Peckerman, and I was talking to her about how, I haven't felt connected to my body in a long time, and I feel like something was like out of balance in my body. And so she recommended I do a Dutch test. Yeah. And I did a Dutch test, which indicated that I was waking up every weekday at 4:30 to go to the gym at 5:30 to do weightlifting. And then I started my day, come back home, get my kids ready, take them to school, and then work, get the kids. Like, that was my day. Okay. And then my day ended, and it was like, okay, hopefully I get enough sleep so that I can wake up at 4:30 again and do it. And she was like, your cortisol levels are out of whack, girl. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
I didn't think about that. And she said, and your sleep isn't really restful. And it's showing that you're waking up in your sleep, because part of the test is to do the test if you wake up at night.
Right.
So that it can test your levels while you're like supposed to be sleeping.
Exactly.
And I was like, I don't have babies anymore. I do have a dog. I still have children. I thought that I was sleeping enough and resting, and I didn't realize that I was running on on fumes.
Yes.
And so I changed my entire routine, which was also like really stressful to my nervous system, because routine is regulating for me.
Yeah.
I know what to expect. And even if I don't have enough sleep, this is what I do. And my body knows what to do. And now my body didn't know what to do. But I took a break from doing that. And I did the test with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really surprised by the result. I mean, it's not a Dutch test, but this test, the HRV test.
Yes.
And I don't know if the cameras can pick it up, but if you want to.
It is a beautiful scan.
This is a scan.
Beautiful scan.
I'm so proud.
You should be very proud. It's gorgeous.
When you told me, I was like expecting you to be like, so, but then you were like, this is a great scan. I was like, oh, that's amazing. That means that I've probably made progress by changing this routine.
Yes.
So going back to the original, it's like what, the physical, like all of these aspects of your life. And I think physical could also be rest, can also be
absolutely.
Are you moving your body enough to release tension?
Absolutely.
Are you moving your body in the wrong way? Are you not moving your body? Are you like all of the things? If there's trauma to your body, all those things. And so I made a change after that test. And I think that change has lasted, I want to say 2 to 3 months. And so, I mean, I haven't done another Dutch test,
of course,
but this test really, when you told me, I was like, wow, that's incredible. So if we're looking at this test, okay, there are a few tests on here. So I'm going to just fold the page. Okay. We're looking at this test. You indicated that you want to be in the middle of this, right? So this is
horizontally, you want to be right on the midline.
Right. So this is the midline, and my dot, if you can see, is pretty close to the midline, which is really, really cool.
Very much there. Yeah.
So that's really amazing. And then you were talking about horizontally.
Horizontally, that tells us your reserve, right? Or your autonomic activity. It tells us how you adapt to stress.
Right.
So if this is all considering internal stress, right? Talking about the nervous system, okay? So if you are higher up on the graph, that means you have a higher adaptability to the stress around you. Meaning, if you get sick with a virus, you're getting over it right away because your body has the internal resources to adapt to that stress, right? If someone makes you very angry, you're not going to lash out at them. You're going to talk to them peacefully because you can manage that stress.
Yeah, that sounds like me. That does sound like me. I think it's when I saw this, it was like, oh, that was a very exciting result for me. Because I was worried that you were going to be like, so you're so dysregulated. And I was like, I was sitting there waiting to like brace myself to be like, not like, I don't know what to do. And then I was like, oh, something worked. Absolutely. And that's exciting. Like I changed my workout. I changed everything.
And give yourself credit for that because it takes a lot to be a mom, a business owner, a wife, and to be able to completely change your routine so that you can be in a better headspace, that you can be more in that regulatory state for yourself so that you can be more present for your family. Give yourself that credit.
I don't know if I'm yet at the more present for my family part. I'm really trying to get there.
You are there.
I'm trying. But yeah, so that was a really exciting result for me. And some scans, so let's say if we looked at this scan and somebody was either like off to one side or the other side, that would be the sympathetic versus parasympathetic. Correct. And that would tell us the hyposensitivity, hypersensitivity, all that stuff. And then if they were in a lower area, their immune system might be more compromised. They would have less
digestion as well, respiratory, maybe having more meltdowns, tantrums, stuff like that.
Right. So like I was with a client this morning and I described to the mom, because the mom, I met with her, her child was just diagnosed with autism, and I was meeting with her to help her kind of like digest that and work through it. And part of what I was sharing with her is that her daughter is what I would call hypersensitive to all stimuli, including energy, and that she feels in a very deep way things that we can hear, see, to all of that sensory input. And her emotions, she feels in a very big way because she got frustrated and immediately it was like, like a big response. It was very brief.
Yeah.
But it was a very big response. And she said, this happens often. I said, her feeling. Like if she were down here, if she were in here, she would be in the lower part, because she would have more, I don't know about, she'd be not the lower part. I meant she would be more in the, what's the word? Sympathetic. Thank you. I was like, I'm saying the wrong word. The sympathetic part of this scan.
Of course.
And so your approach with her would be to help her regulate her nervous system through adjustment.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. So then you have a few other scans that you do.
And the other scans, as I'll start to explain to them, they kind of all work together with each other, and they explain each other by looking at it as a whole.
Right.
Right. So they tell me different things, but if I ignored one and only looked at the other, they wouldn't complement each other very well, because I'm ignoring a part of your nervous system that complements that one. And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. So the second one is called surface electromyography. It tells me how much energy is getting sent from the brain to each muscular level. What do I mean by that? If we have too much energy getting sent from the brain, it's almost like I'm giving too much attention to those muscles.
Right.
Why? Is it tension? Is it sensory signals? Are they motor signals? Are they pain signals? All of those are considered under that, okay? So we have different levels of coloring that will show up on this scan. So mild is green, moderate is blue, and significant is red. Those are all levels of high tone or high energy levels from the brain to those muscles. Okay?
Gotcha.
So when I see that, let's say a child comes in and they have so many of these colors on this graph, that tells me that their nervous system is freaking out right now in the muscular way. Let's say they also come in saying, I have so many sensory challenges, meaning I can't wear specific clothing textures. I'm sensitive to bright lights. I can't hear loud noises. All of those are different sensory oversensitivities, right? So this graph goes hand in hand with that. If I see that your graph is full of all these colors and you're telling me you have all of these sensory challenges, they go hand in hand with each other, because now your brain is sending so many sensory signals to all of these muscles that you can't take anything else. You are over responding. Okay. So why do I care about that as a chiropractor? That will tell me what technique I need to use when I'm adjusting you. So if you have too much tone and tension, we need to calm things down. I need to use a more tonal approach when I'm adjusting you, because your body can't handle much right now. But let's say you were the opposite. Let's say you weren't getting enough signal from the brain energy-wise to each muscle. This looks like more of my teenagers that are very depressed, okay? They come in, they're shrugging their shoulders down, their posture's very much like sluggish. They probably will show up very low tone in this scan, which means that their nervous system needs a wake-up call, right? So we need to do more of a manual adjustment with them to wake their nervous system up.
Interesting.
So this is all considering the relationship between the brain and the muscles to help me choose the technique I use.
So if somebody had, let's say, they're very sensitive to sound, would that show up in a specific area, or that may not show up in a specific area? It'll just show up as like kind of lots of stimulation to the muscles in general.
It'll show up in general.
Got you. So it won't be like in a particular spot.
Nope.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Because in my results, and I shared this with you, that I found, I also was like, oh, that's interesting, because some of my like blue moderate was on the opposite side of where I actually experienced pain.
Yes.
And you were saying because that side is compensating for the area that is, I guess, struggling or whatever. And there was a particular spot, so I'll actually show so everyone can see. Let me see if I can make this look pretty. This is this scan. So at the top here, I have red, which is significant, and you can see like it's pretty big, this like the signal.
Yep.
So when you adjusted me,
Mm-hmm.
I noticed a big difference. So you adjusted me in this area.
Yes.
And when I lay on my stomach on your table,
Mm-hmm.
my legs did like an interesting thing where I could feel they were uncomfortable, but I didn't know how to make them comfortable. So I just let them like flop however they did.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you were moving my legs to see different things. And then you were like, oh, one leg is like a little bit shorter than the other. I was like, really? I didn't know that. And then you went and you adjusted here. And then it was here, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And then my legs lay comfortably. And you're like, oh, no, that's just what I needed. Like that was that one thing. And I actually noticed a few times, and I don't know if that's a normal thing, that over the last few days, if I do this, like I can hear the cracking. Like I was like, oh, what is that? That's so interesting. I had never experienced an instant change from an adjustment. And I was like, oh, when I felt that. And it was like I became so aware because it wasn't historically when I've gone to the chiropractor, I didn't really know what they were doing.
Right. Which is very common.
I didn't even know why they would use specific techniques, and you explained it to me. And I understand that, like, if I'm bringing my child, they may not fully know what's going on.
Of course.
But I went as an adult to be adjusted, and I didn't really know why. And so when you were saying, listen, this is what the scan is, and so I'm actually going to target this area, and I'm going to target this area here, and you explained to me also that there's, like, not enough flow going down. And you were talking, is it this one that has like a normal scan, or this one that has like a set out? I think it's this one.
Yes, the other one.
So when you adjusted, I actually noticed a change. And it was the coolest thing to experience because I had never, and perhaps I had experienced a change before, but I wasn't as mindful of it.
Yeah.
But it was an instant, like I could feel the way my legs lay on the table. And I was like, oh, they're straight and comfortable.
Yeah.
And I don't have to do this like weird flopping thing of my feet. Yeah. I was like, okay. And you're like, oh, that was like an instant reaction, which was a really cool experience to have.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm actually very mindful because I know I get headaches sometimes. And I know that tension builds for me here and like here.
Yep.
And so I'm just being very, like, I have a very heavy bag and I carry it here. And so I'm like kind of being aware of it. But it was such a cool experience to feel it and understand it, if that makes sense, because I had never really experienced it that way before.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's that scan. And then you have one more scan.
Yes. So then the last scan is thermography. Thermography measures temperature, specifically your skin temperature. It's a depiction of your autonomic nervous system. So think of everything that happens automatically. So autonomic. Think heart rate, breathing, digestion, immune function. All of those things you don't think about when you wake up in the middle of the day. You're not like, stomach, please digest my food. It just happens.
Right.
So this is one of those pieces. So it's taking a snapshot of your autonomic nervous system and how the relationship is between your brain and body. So when we look at this scan, I'm looking for two specific parts. I'm looking for high temperatures, or another way of looking at it is inflammation or high blood flow in those areas. And then I'm also looking for any clusters or clumps of high temperatures all on one side versus the other side. With the clusters and clumps, that tells me that there's something stuck in that area, that we are not fully going back and forth between left and right, meaning that we're favoring all this temperature on one side, okay? That typically indicates that there's some kind of speed bump between brain to body somewhere in that area, okay? And then the high temperatures, just meaning that for so long, we've had misalignments or disruptions in the nervous system at that area that now there's inflammation or just too much blood flow on that side.
Right. So if we look at mine, I think I showed this one for the last one by accident at one point, but that's okay.
Yeah.
If we look at mine, this part of it's the C2 is like a lot.
Very
it's red. It's very red, and it's like the line is very big. So I guess that indicates
high temperature.
Yeah. And then I have 2 areas here. But I remember you explaining that there's an ideal pattern that would formulate that looks the opposite of how mine does. I don't remember if it's this
That
one.
was the other one.
That was this one.
Yep.
So there is, for the SEMG,
Yes.
there is an ideal pattern. And that pattern, mine is the opposite.
Correct. So we want it to look narrow at the top, wide in your abdomen or your thoracic area, and then narrow again towards your low back, almost like a flower vase is what I described it as. Yours is
the opposite.
The opposite. So that tells me again that your energy is being used in an inefficient way throughout your body, which I mentioned too, at that area where there's low tone is also where your adrenal glands are.
Yes.
So we had talked about some adrenal fatigue at in that area.
Yes. Yes. And it makes sense that your brain would have to give a lot of energy to the area where you have your organs. That makes sense. And my organs are like, we're okay.
Well, it could have been part of that process that we talked about before, right? You had your routine that was causing you to get to this point of running on fumes, right?
Right.
This scan is reflecting that it's still trying to recover from that, right?
Got you.
So your scan, in this case, your neuromuscular system is still trying to catch up with this new routine. It's not there yet.
Got you. So I have to say that I feel like I learned so much just doing the scan. I learned about my body, and then I thought about and like myself, and I thought about, my own kids. I thought about my clients, and I had to, I remember I asked you, I was like, do you work with adults? Because I know you work in pediatrics.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah. I was like, okay, please,
Yes.
please do a scan with me. When you're working with kids, the first thing I thought about is, do you find it challenging to do the assessment on children? Because they have to sit in that room and they have to do you find that challenging?
So we have different tools that we are able to use. Like, for example, for the heart rate variability, typically with an adult, we'll have you slide your hand in and it takes the heart rate for 3 minutes.
Yes.
Right? Well, a child cannot do that.
Yeah, I was curious about that.
So we have an ear clip. The ear clip goes on your earlobe, and we distract them for 3 minutes. We read a book, we play some games, anything. And the wire is very long. So we have some movement can go on, right? And we just want to make sure the biggest thing is that we're not looking at our phones. We're not looking at our smartwatch, that we're not stimulated in any way. We're just calm and collective taking this graph so that we're able to get a real picture of what's going on.
So this graph is supposed to give you a baseline.
Exactly, because it's taken for 3 minutes, but it's just a 3-minute snapshot in that moment.
Right. And so you don't want to be doing it when a child is feeling very aggravated or feeling overstimulated, because then in that, they might be feeling overstimulated as their baseline. But if we are intentionally stimulating them, then their graph is not showing the baseline.
Correct. Yeah. And that's what I tell adults too, like, please take off your smartwatch or put your phone away, because sometimes in the middle of the graph, they'll get a very stressful text and then the whole graph will show that.
Right. Right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was doing this, I was like, I'm chill. This is not going to show anything. But then I really thought about it from my behavioral lens. And then I was like, I want to know what baseline is. I want to know when I am at my most chill. I may not be my most chill, but I was relaxed. What does that come up as? Because when I'm talking to people about understanding, adding stimuli and stress to somebody whose baseline is running on fumes or is running really stimulated, then you get these explosive responses. You can't expect that person to behave as if they were in this alignment.
Right. Exactly.
It's so interesting because a lot of like the way that I assess nervous system is more intuitive and like through behavioral patterns and
Yeah.
knowing somebody and feeling them. Whereas this is a scientific way to actually assess that. So it's very exciting for me. Like when I heard what you do, I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. I need to meet her and I need to know what she does. It is so like, I feel like a geek right now because I'm like, I want to know everything.
But it's super cool because we don't know what's going on inside of our nervous system. We know what we feel and how we're
Yeah.
functioning, but we really don't know how we're adapting. So this is like a really awesome way for parents and for adults to be able to see how their child is functioning internally, how you are functioning internally, and for it to make sense because this is your physiology. This is what's going on so that you understand that what you're feeling is exactly what's going on inside. And this is how your nervous system is responding.
How did you come about this method and why don't other chiropractors use it? Or
Yes.
maybe others do, I just don't know. But how did this come about? Because your approach is very unique as far as I know.
Yes. So I cannot take the credit for this. I am part of a network called the PX Docs.
Right.
So the founder, his name is Dr. Tony Ebel, and he started PX. So it's called the Pediatric Experience, but the approach is for everyone. So it started and stemmed because of these neurodiverse challenges in kids, but it's helpful in the same framework for anyone.
Yep.
So he's the one who started this approach, and it's basically just a framework for how to care for them. So the framework starts with listening to your story. We have a very intense consult with parents, with the adult, regarding their child, regarding themselves, based off of everything that's been going on from preconception to the day that they walk in the office. I want to know it all. Then we do the scans, and then we match the scans up with the history because that gives me a better idea of what's going on and I can find overlapping patterns. Then with that, I'm able to create a care plan for them. The care plan that I make is based off of the things you've told me. I literally have an Excel sheet that I put numbers in and it shoots out the number of visits that you need to come in for.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not just guessing. It is exactly tailored to you. Not everyone gets the same care plan when they come in my office. Everyone gets a different one, and it's based off of their scores from their scans, their history that they've told me about, etc. Okay. So then once I'm able to create that care plan for them, then they come in and we can give them the exact adjustment that their body needs, meaning technique-wise and where to focus the adjusting on. I don't adjust a ton, especially on these overstimulated kids, because we only need to give the nervous system what it can handle at a time. Maybe one, maybe two, maximum 3 adjustments every time I see them so that their body can actually learn to make these connections. So to go back to your question, I am part of this network. And so if you are considered a PX doc, you've done the same training as me and you have the same certification as me. So we practice very similarly. So there's a page, it's called pxdocs.com, and there's a directory. So anytime my patients move, I will send them to the directory so that they can find another PX doc wherever they're moving to.
And are they only in the United States?
So no, surprisingly, they've been expanding to Canada. They've been expanding to Australia. There's some in Europe now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
So pxdoc.com.
Yep.
So if you don't live in South Florida,
Exactly.
then you have a way to get this kind of service.
Yes.
That's really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So this was like a chiropractic school, or this was you went to chiropractic college and then you did this certification?
Correct. It's a separate certification. It's basically like a training or a seminar.
Mm-hmm.
You do a certain amount of hours online training. You take a few quizzes online, and then you go to the in-person training, which is like a weekend-long seminar where we're actually applying these cases. We're talking about different scenarios. We're actually watching different cases and learning how to approach them. And then at the end, you get your certification.
So you work with neurodiverse kids.
Yep.
But I came to you asking you also about my daughter who has allergies.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, I work with kids with allergies too. And I've actually gotten some kids off of their puffers. And I was like, please do tell me more. Can you? So the chiropractor I worked with years ago when I went to one, he described it in a very spiritual way, what he was doing as like his adjustment was allowing for the connections that then allowed for healing to happen. And that made sense to me because I'm a very spiritual person. I am so curious how this helps with allergies. And I understand allergies are also like inflammation. I can see it, right? Like there's inflammation. How can you help with allergies through this method? It is like, when you said that to me, I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
Please. I really, like one of the things, when you talk about also how it helps with digestion, right? Which makes sense.
Yep.
A lot of my neurodiverse clients also simultaneously have digestive issues. Not all of them, but many of them do. And so I was like, oh, that's an interesting thing that you could kind of tackle both things through this approach. How does it help with allergies?
Great question. So I'm going to refer back to the scans we just
Okay.
The first one, the heart rate variability one.
Yeah.
If I see that your reserve, meaning your white dot, is lower on the graph.
So down here.
Yep. That tells me that you have a harder time managing stress, specifically adapting to the stress around you. Okay. So now I know that your internal resources are lower. Hence, now you're getting allergies to everything environmentally going on. Remember, we talked about this was an interpretation of chemical, physical, and emotional stress.
Yes.
So your environmental toxins, for example, that are giving you allergies are part of the chemical stressors. Okay. So if I see that you're more susceptible to that, it's because your reserve is low. Your ability to adapt to stress is low. Okay. That tells me what's going on.
Right.
Okay. Regarding that. Then we're going to go to the last scan that we talked about, thermography. Typically with allergies, we will notice that C2 is out of alignment or has a lot of inflammation there. That is exactly where all of our flushing comes out from. If we are misaligned at C2, all of the congestion, all of the fluids are going to stay in our head, basically, and not totally get flushed through, hence why we're constantly getting more and more allergies.
Which you also told me is probably why I have the postnasal drip that lingers.
Correct.
Okay, that is very interesting. So somebody with allergies, their scans would probably be in the lower range for the HRV, and their C2 would look like mine.
Probably.
Got you.
That is the most common pattern that we see. Yeah.
Got you. And so then that tells you this is the area you probably need to adjust as one of the adjustments. And because they're on the lower end, you might need to be very sensitive in the way in which you adjust because they're...
Or maybe just
depending
increase your care plan size, meaning how many times I need to see you.
Based on that number.
Yes.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And then depending where they are actually in the right or left side of this would tell you your approach.
Yep.
This is the coolest thing.
But it's super cool too. Sorry to interrupt you,
No.
but I just had another patient come in this week for allergies. And when I was adjusting him, his C2 was also very out. He's had allergies his entire life, and he's been to several different doctors, and they all tell him the same thing. He has this postnasal drip that never leaves. He's constantly trying to clear his throat. He's just very much susceptible to environmental allergens.
Right.
So he was even saying, as soon as I touched his C2, he felt it in his throat. He felt something in his throat because it's connected.
Wow, that's so crazy. That is really cool. I want to scan my daughter. I want to be like, aha, you see, this makes so much sense.
Yeah.
That is so cool. That is really cool. For me, so much of my work when I first started was intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't taught how to do assessments at the beginning. I was taught to really read a child and a person. And I think being an empath and feeling people deeply, that was not something I had to necessarily learn, just like figure out what it meant, how I felt other people. And to be able to, like, I remember when, you know who Dr. Joe Dispenza is?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So when I learned about what he was doing, I literally was like, thank you, God, for creating this man, because he created research that showed evidence to things that I've known, not things I've thought or things that I've felt, but things I've known deeply within me. And he did research, and there's evidence, and here's all the scientific background to how this works. This is the same thing for me.
Yes.
It's like, this is taking what I know.
Yes.
And what I have intuitively felt and ways that I've tracked it in totally like scan ways, but more so through like data of behavior, deep relationships, feeling somebody else's energy, understanding somebody, having compassion for somebody, which also takes time, all that stuff. Whereas like, you're like, let me do a scan and let's see, and let's make a plan. Like, I would love for my clients to come do this so that we can also show our RBTs and our BCBAs, look at their nervous system.
Right.
This, like, I'd like teachers to see, like, look at their nervous system.
Right.
And this is why we're going to do this, which is so empowering to have that information. If this is their baseline, imagine when they come in after X, Y, or Z happens, or when they fail or perceive failure, or something happens that to the blind eye looks like something so minute,
right,
but isn't felt by the body and the brain and the nervous system is so minute. This is brilliant.
It's empowering. It's like what you said, it is. And that's why I work with so many teachers too. I was going to school to become a teacher, and my major when I was in school was early childhood education with exceptional needs. I wanted to work with the neurodiverse population.
So cool.
I loved it. I've always loved working with kids, but when I was in the classroom, there were so many kids on more and more and more IEPs that I kept thinking to myself, I want to be on the other side. I want to help them from within. What can I do to do that? And this is where I found this profession. And that's been
beautiful.
Such a passion of mine. Every time, that's why I have the wall in my office with all the wins, because all of the little things that happen in your life from starting care is from your nervous system learning new patterns. And these kids can do it. They're learning these patterns from within organically, and I'm helping them have a better quality of life, and their bodies are doing all of the work. It's incredible. So I keep thinking, one day my goal is going to be able to go to every single school and be able to like adjust every single kid, because that would be so amazing. It would be.
It's so funny because you and I are very similar in that way. When I started in this field, I was like, I want to be in a school because that's where kids are and I want to help kids. And I found myself in a school. I consulted at a school. I worked with the teachers. I worked with the kids. And I was like, I can't be in one school. I need to be in all the schools.
Exactly.
This isn't enough to help one school. I need to help all the schools. How do I do that? And so a big part of what I do is that I train teachers. It's something I love to do, is to provide professional development through my lens. And it allows me to not be in the school physically because I actually can't physically be there. And I have staff that I supervise who go in and consult to schools. But it is that feeling of like, I want to help every child. I want to help every single child. And part of that means I'm helping their teachers or I'm helping their parents. And in this way, you actually did exactly what you said. I want to go and help them from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. That's beautiful. And actually, for anyone who is feeling stuck, maybe where they are, this is a beautiful segue for them to think about, like, what is it that I'm deeply passionate about and how can I live out that passion? Because it's never too late.
Well, and that's the biggest thing is that it doesn't have to be me. It can be any other PX doc in your area. This is such a great way to see what's going on with you, with your child, because the mom gut is real. Let me tell you.
That's 100% true. I agree.
It is real. So if you feel like there's something else that is going on with your child or that there's something that people aren't listening to you about, listen to yourself. Listen to me right now. Your mom gut is real.
I agree. I talk about that all the time. Listen to your gut.
Yes.
So the way that I usually end the podcast is that I ask you to think of a question or a statement you want the listeners to sit with, to think about, to explore within themselves, or talk about with somebody they're listening to this with. What would you leave them with?
Oh, that's a tough one. Let me think. I think I would leave them with a statement. I would say, for moms, you are doing an incredible job looking out for all of your kids or your one child, for wearing all the hats. But look at yourself too, because you are going to be the head of every decision and everything that goes on in your life. So put your mask on before assisting others.
I think that's a really big theme in my podcasts. I think that that's a beautiful message. So as a mom or a caregiver, you are always focusing on everyone else. But are you depleting yourself and so giving from an empty cup? Yeah. That's a really important one. Thank you.
It's so important. It's so important.
Thank you so much for sharing your brilliance, for sharing this information with everybody. I love bringing on guests that I get to learn from because I had never heard of this before. So if this is not your first time hearing about this, I'm happy that you learned it in more depth. If it is the first time, you're very welcome because I know what it did for me to learn about it. So thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you. Thank you for opening up this space for me to talk about it and for all of the beautiful things you said about me. It's people like you that I love to just be able to talk with and share this energy with. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay.